Might help if I unmute. That is my problem with going back and forth between what mics I'm using. At any rate, last month, October, was Breast Awareness Month. And even though I'm not doing this during that time, I decided I'm going to go ahead and do a video about my experience with mammogram and kind of go from there. So this might be a little TMI for some folks, and that's fine. But otherwise, welcome and stay. If you've watched any of my other videos, the weight one, or even in the recipes, you can see that I'm large chested. There's no way to get around that, unfortunately. I haven't, insurance wise, I don't know if I'll be able to claim enough to be able to have a breast reduction for that reason. The last time I talked to my doctor about it, she didn't seem confident that we could get insurance to approve it. I do have back problems, lower, middle, and upper, and it just all varies and depends. But for right now, I'm big chested. And you other ladies that may be big chested, you know the struggle. So I've posted a picture here from when I've done my weight reviews, so you get an idea of what I'm talking about, because I don't really show it too much here. In fact, you can't, I mean, you can see I'm big chested, but you really can't get a huge idea of what's going on. So that's the only reason why I'm posting this picture here, and that's just to give you an idea. Especially with no support, you can really tell. And poor Dad, when he's tried to take my weight pictures, he says he's trying to lower the camera so it's not up so high, which is good for here. But when you're up like that, it makes me look even heavier on top. So he's trying to lower the camera so it doesn't look quite as uneven. At any rate, I am 46. I'm heading towards 47. Not quite half. I'm about halfway there to 47. I'm over halfway to there. What month is this? November. I am halfway to 47. So we are, for some reason, I had it in my head that you didn't do the mammograms until you were 50. And even then, I thought it was every other year. And the rules have changed through the years on when to get screened for mammograms. But right now, and I will double check this, I'll correct myself if I'm wrong, but right now, it is that you should get your mammogram done every year from age 40 and on as a preventative measure to try to reduce the struggles that you might go through if you do have breast cancer or any other abnormalities. But the sooner you catch breast cancer, the better. I am looking at the CDC, and I get so confused. So I don't know if what I just told you was because I'm large chested, and so that's what's recommended for me for that reason, or if she knows my ethnicity background before I did, because my doctor used to work with my dad. They were partners together in the doctor's office. And so maybe she knew that I have Ashkenazi, but she told me I'm supposed to be getting it done every year from the age of 40. And I've only had it done twice since the age of 40. I have not been doing it as often as I was. Like I said, up until last year, I had the information wrong, I thought. However, maybe I didn't have it wrong, because according to the CDC, Breast cancer screening recommendation. The United States Preventative Services Task Force is an organization made up of doctors and disease experts who look at research on the best way to prevent diseases and make recommendations on how doctors can help patients avoid diseases and find them early. This task force recommends that women who are 50 to 74 years old and are at average risk for breast cancer get a mammogram every 2 years. Women who are 40 to 49 years old should talk to their doctor or other healthcare professional about when to start and how often to get a mammogram. Women should weigh the benefits and risks of screening tests when deciding whether to begin getting mammograms before the age of 50. So that's according to the CDC. And I was trying to look for a year on this. Page last reviewed September 14th, 2020. So it seems to be up to date. However, I've got some other things going on, and so that might be why my doctor told me I need to do it every year. All I know is my insurance covers every year, so I'm not sure. So one of the things that puts me at higher risk is the fact that I have Ashkenazi Jew heritage. My dad is 60-some% Ashkenazi, and I am 34%, 32%, somewhere in there. So it fits exactly with being exactly in half with my dad, which ethnicity does not always work that way, but for this particular trait, it does for me. It's not a trait, heritage. It does for me. So that puts me at risk, which I did not know until last year. And it's something about just the region and the genetics within the Ashkenazi that put them at higher risk. I'm not sure exactly what it is. So that's a risk factor for me. The other thing that may be a factor on why my doctor has me get a mammogram every year, or recommends I get it every year. Are you going to hop up and say hi to everybody? He just started doing this in the last month. I will have had him for 2 years in February, and it's taken him that long to get used to jumping up on the chair with me. And that's enough. Okay, so one of my other risk factors is, and this might be why my doctor recommended I get annual exams done as well, is that I have fibrocystic breast disease. That sounds a lot worse than it really is, but it also adds complications. So fibrocystic breast disease is composed of tissue that feels lumpy or rope-like in texture. Doctors call this nodular or glandular breast tissue. It's not at all uncommon to have fibrocystic breasts. More than half of women experience fibrocystic breast changes at some point in their lives. In fact, medical professionals have stopped using the term fibrocystic breast disease and now simply refer to fibrocystic breasts, because having fibrocystic breasts isn't really a disease. Breast changes categorized as fibrocystic are considered normal. Although many women with fibrocystic breasts don't have symptoms, some women experience breast pain, tenderness, and lumpiness, especially in the upper outer area of the breasts. That would be in this area, I believe, which fits me. Breast symptoms tend to be most bothersome just before menstruation, and that's with all women tend to have breast pain during and before menstruation. Simple self-care measures can usually relieve discomfort associated with fibrocystic breasts. I have had this since at least college that I'm aware of. And I might have had it even during high school. I'm not sure. I've always had the hard, lumpy nodules. And so one of the things that women should do every month, I think it's 8 days after the first day of your period, is to do a self-breast exam. I've tried doing it. I have no idea. The lumps and bumps are there, and I have no idea if it's a concern bump or not. So I admit I am bad about doing self-exam just because those lumps and bumps are there no matter what I do. And I have them all the way around. They're not just in one spot. So another thing that, and that description is from the Mayo Clinic. Another thing that it mentioned is that there can be breast pain or tenderness. Well, back when I was 35, I was having so much pain that even walking, any kind of amount that had the chest shifting at all, whether it was bounce or whatever, but any amount of movement like that just killed, especially during menstruation. And because it hurt so bad, my doctor referred me for a mammogram at 35 along with a sonogram. They didn't find anything. So I've had mammograms since 35, just not every year, and apparently not as often as I'm supposed to be getting them right now. This last one that I had last year, which was 2019, did confirm dense tissue and that sort of thing. So something that I learned when I scheduled my appointment, no, not when I scheduled my appointment, but it was something I learned to ask for, was that if you have dense tissue, there are other tests that they can do to help make sure that there's nothing hiding in the dense tissue. So I've always had regular mammograms up to this point. When I called the breast center and mentioned this to them that I have dense tissue, was there other tests that I could do without my doctor's referral, or did I have to have a doctor referral? There are some, the diagnostic ones, you do have to have a doctor's referral for. However, they said that they can do a 3D mammogram, which is not as, I don't know where I was getting ready to say with that. The 3D mammogram gives more clarity. And so, I don't have to have a referral for that one. So I'm going to go ahead and get it done and kind of go from there. However, I have no idea what to expect. So I thought, and I may edit this some, I don't know, it depends on how much we show, but usually the videos are very careful about how much they show. If they do show the breast, it's in an educational manner. So we will see if I feel like I need to blur anything or not. But otherwise, we're going to check out a video on 3D imaging because I don't know exactly what to expect. And so I thought we could learn together. And since my appointment is this Saturday, I figured I'd better see what I'm getting into.
All set. Come on back.
The first thing that will happen is you'll come back. We'll bring you back and get you changed.
Shirt and bra is going to come off.
We'll bring you in the room and we'll go over your questionnaires.
So far, this is pretty standard.
After that, I'll explain to them about the procedure, what we're going to do.
Bring this up to you.
The whole time that I'm doing the exam, I talk to them and I tell them exactly what I'm doing, when I'm doing it, how I'm doing it.
Hold very still now.
I'll go back to the console. I'll have you hold your breath and I'll take the image. My routine is I do the right up and down picture, the left up and down picture, and then I tilt the machine.
Is this paddle is going to come down?
Somewhere between the 45
and
and 50 degree angle.
And it squishes you.
They're called the side view. It's where instead of just taking an up and down picture, we also take kind of a side to side picture. Where in the old days, they just saw it from those two perspectives. Nowadays with the 3D imaging, they get to kind of feather it out so they can see the different layers of it.
Imagine taking a stack of transparencies that have printed words on them, and somewhere in those printed words there's a black star just on one of the pages, or maybe it's on 3 or 4 of the pages. When you look at a regular 2D mammogram, you see just a jumble of letters, and you can't even make out a word. If there's a whole lot of letters, like a dense breast tissue, on a screening mammogram, the star might be obscured. But if you could take those transparency pages and leaf through them like a book, you're going to get to the page that has a black star, and then you're going to see that black star 3 or 4 times on, consecutive pages. And you're going to say, that's a breast cancer. And it could be a little 3 or 4 millimeter black star, but you're going to see it if you can leaf through the pages. But the idea is that you can find things much smaller.
So makes complete sense.
We're finding 3 and 4 millimeter breast cancers, which is amazing, really, when you think about it.
Now you're going to feel some compression. Usually it takes maybe a couple seconds for it to happen, and then it's done. The plate automatically lifts up, and I tell you to breathe. It's really amazing imagery. Being in this industry as long as I've been in, I've seen it evolve. Great job, and it's just quite amazing.
So a lot of stuff that made sense. It doesn't look like it is any different from a regular breast exam, which I've had, mammogram. Maybe you have to hold your breath a little bit longer to get the 80 pictures, but otherwise, it doesn't look much different. So this will be interesting. I will also talk about the results with you guys and kind of go from there. So far, all of the mammograms that I've had, which are the 2D, and then the sonogram one, the diagnostic one that I had at 35, all of them have been normal, other than showing dense tissue. So we'll see if this is any different. And if it's able to pick up smaller ones, that means hopefully you catch breast cancer sooner and therefore can start doing the interventions sooner as well. So we will see. I will see you guys when I get back. What? What? You gonna help me tell them about what happened today? It looks like I smack you all the time. She did that little duck there thing. Hey, everybody. Checking in. So today was the day of squishes. I had my 3D mammogram today, and so I thought I'd check in about that process. So I started off the day, took a shower. I'd actually showered real good yesterday, did my soaps and everything yesterday. And then today, it was just a hot water shower. I didn't do any soaps or any shampoos or conditioners or anything like that. And the reason why is because they say not to put on any lotions or deodorant or anything like that. So, and because our hair products have so much stuff in them, and our body soaps have so much stuff in them, even though I like to use them, I wasn't going to take any chances. I did the same thing when I had my EMG and CV testing done. I didn't do any washing of the hair because I didn't want any of the residual stuff on the skin that would take away or interfere with the testing. So that's how we started this morning. Actually, that's not how we started this morning. So I got to sleep somewhere between 1:30 and 2, which is about normal for me nowadays. And I normally get up at 9 or 10. I set the alarm for 8 because I had to leave the house by 9:15. Well, my day started off with a little tremor. I felt a little bit of a rumble. Didn't hear the boom that's usually associated with them. So I don't know if I was asleep at that part or not, but as I was laying unconscious in bed, I felt the little tremor part of the rumble. I don't know what it was yet. They have not posted it. They probably won't post it until Monday. Today is Saturday. So by the time I edit this, there should be an update because I'm waiting for the test results for the rest of this video. So while the cat litter was turning, Miss Thing decided she wanted to be held. I haven't been home all day, so cat fur. So what was I saying? So anyway, we had a tremor this morning just before 7 a.m. So it woke me up an hour early. I am tired. Ugh. So hot water shower, and that was it. Didn't do any soaps or anything. No lotions, no deodorant. I did throw the deodorant in my purse so that I could put it on when I got dressed again after the exam. And I am so glad I did, because by that time the heat started picking up, which is why my face is all red. It was only supposed to be a high of 50-something where I live, and in the 60s down in Winston. And I just carried groceries in from Sam's Club, so I'm a little warm. Plus, I just ate my lunch, and it's now dinner time. So one of the things when I checked in, if you're going to sit there, I can lean back up again. One of the things that they are doing is doing screenings for COVID, and so they gave me a sticker, so I left it on for you all. I've been all around Winston-Salem with my sticker on. And actually, I only got out at one place, and that was at the hospital to take my friend, my ex-work wife, some lunch. The good news is the hospital is locked down enough that I couldn't get in to have lunch with her. So I dropped off her lunch, and then I finished doing my errands and then raced home and then ate my lunch while Dad and I finished the game. I have no idea what is happening with my team. Absolutely no idea. Every one of them are great. And you would never know it by the way they're playing this year. We won't talk about that anymore. The litter box is busy. So at any rate, they screened me, checked me in. As I had done a little bit more research than what I showed you guys, the one video I watched said that I might be paying between $25 and $50 for the 3D exam, because most insurances only pay for the 2D mammogram. So when they checked me in, I said, don't I need to pay a copay or anything? Because they were like, okay, we'll call you when you're ready. And they said, no, your insurance covers 3D. And I went, sounds good. So that was a nice surprise today. I figured I'd be shelling out $50, and I'm glad I didn't have to. The reason why, as a reminder, is the last mammogram I had did confirm dense tissue. And so a 3D mammogram is recommended for dense tissue. Now, as we get older, the breast tissue is supposed to get less dense. And I am now getting past middle age. So I'm wanting to know when they'll be less dense, because that also probably means less pain. And don't know when that's going to happen. I did an e-check-in where I answered all their questions before I got there, and that took longer than I thought it was going to, and so I was a little bit late getting started. But I did that, and one of the questions that it asks is if you've had any pain in the breast area. And last night, I actually started having pain right in here, which is kind of the breast, kind of the lymph node, kind of, I included it. Now, she questioned me when I got there and asked me a little bit further about what I was saying, because one of the things that will happen is the diagnostician will take a closer look, make sure they're not missing anything. I waved it off. I said it's no different than any of my other pains I've had through the years. I've had all sorts of different kinds of pains. And so I didn't feel this was an alarming pain. And so hopefully they don't call me back in for anything. But we'll see. The 3D mammogram was the same as the 2D, same positions, same layout, all that kind of stuff. So if you've had a 2D mammogram, then 3D is exactly the same, only you stand there a few seconds longer while the machine does its little waving thing and gets different angles. So that was really all there was to it. I didn't have any pain from the pressure. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. They said that can sometimes depend on when your menstruation is happening, and they do ask that question when you're screening. That probably makes a difference in the tissue as well, because as any woman can tell you, your breasts will bloat like your stomach. They do get slightly bigger during that time. So that's probably another reason why they ask that question, but also because you can have pain from the pressure of being squished if it's about that time. I didn't have any pain this time. There was no pinching, no pain. You could feel the pressure, but it wasn't painful at all, if that makes sense. For me, I'm a very private person. I don't like showing all my goods. Sometimes that's hard not to do, but I don't like showing all my goods. So even when I lived with my boyfriend, I closed the bathroom door. I changed in the bathroom by myself, that kind of stuff. That's the type of person I am. So the most uncomfortable part for me is when the technician helps put you in place. And because I'm so large, the breasts are so heavy, it's a plop. And to add another uncomfortable thing about the process, and I don't know if smaller chested women experience this, but for larger chested women, first you've got to put the one breast on the plate, and they got to position it, and they got to lift you up and get you as close to the plate as possible, because you can have lumps down in the chest area as well. So they try to get as much of that tissue pulled forward as possible. So the other uncomfortable part of that process is having them have to get the other breast out of the way. So women with smaller chests, let me know if they do that with you as well. I've never been small, so I have no idea if that's the same experience for all women going through that process. And, I've been saying women when doing this, but there are men who get breast cancer as well. So I don't know at what points the doctors would recommend men getting mammograms done, but I'll just throw that out there and just know that there's just constantly fur flying around, isn't there? Just know that men do get breast cancer. I don't know what the percentage is, and I don't know what the criteria are for them to get tested, but no, it's a possibility. So, it's one of these things I have to keep telling myself, this is natural. This is a part of making sure you're healthy. It's probably uncomfortable for many people. So I just try to keep telling myself that, and this is no big deal for the technician, basically. Same thing that guys probably prep themselves with when they're having their prostate check, or the cough and turn is prostate check, right? That's one of the screenings for prostate. I think so. I don't know. I've never had that. So at any rate, I imagine it's something similar. It's uncomfortable for them to do that kind of thing. It's uncomfortable as a woman to have somebody plop you up on the platform. So it was real quick and easy. I was in and out fairly quickly, probably a total of in the front door, out the front door, because I had to go up to the third floor. It's probably a total of 20 minutes. Did not take long at all. They are limiting how many people they have in their waiting room at a time. This particular place that I went to was the Novant Health Breast Center in Winston-Salem. I chose to drive all that distance to go to them again because the experience last year was so quick and efficient, and just overall not uncomfortable experience is the best way I can describe it. So I chose to stick with them again. So I drove all that way. I planned on doing a pickup at Sam's Club, and that's a whole nother story I'll tell you at the end. So the breast center is exactly, that's all they do is breasts. breast imaging, breast diagnostician stuff. I can't say those words. Those are those 25-cent words. So I had the one last year, and I had one in 2015, which was 5 years ago, at another hospital where the imaging was in a room with other imaging type of stuff. They had a section for doing mammograms, but it wasn't a center specified just for the mammograms. So there are different types of places to get your mammogram done. There's also mobile mammograms. I think my county has a mobile mammogram that comes around. I've never looked into it enough to find out. I forget the reason why I went down to Elkin for the one in 2015. And then I swear I had one when I was 35 at the place in Elkin, but they only sent the one mammogram, so I might be misremembering things. All they can see is one ear. It's like a little shark fin, doesn't it? So that was my day. Because I myself was running late, I was late to my appointment, but that was no big deal for them. Oh, I was saying they limit their waiting room to 6 people. There was a woman that came in with her husband, and the lady who was checking me in was like, no, he needs to go outside and wait. And then she stopped and she said, well, if more people come in, because we can't have more than 6 people. So they went ahead and let him stay. And when I went back out, nobody was in the waiting room. So I was trying to think if there was anything else. As far as COVID stuff, they had the sanitizer bottles out. Each chair had a sign in it. One side said clean, and the other side you were supposed to flip it to after you got done sitting in the chair that said dirty. So that was to show that they had been cleaning and that sort of thing as well. Even before COVID, you got your own top. And so that I wasn't worried about, although this time they had each of the tops in their own plastic bag, and they would scooch it out enough for me to grab it myself rather than them touch it and hand it to me. So they were being extra cautious with handling things and that sort of stuff as well. The technicians always have gloves on when they are touching you. That's just standard nursing lab behavior. It's universal precautions. I'm trying to think of what else you might be wondering about. I think that's the most of things right now. So now I wait for the report. The report will be dropped off in MyChart, which is an online portal for me to access my chart. And all of my records from Novant Health, they have a bunch of different types of medical services going from hospital to outpatient to dental to breast to all sorts of things, counseling. So anything that is in the Novant Health family gets put in my chart, and that's another reason why I went ahead and went with them and went all the way to Winston to have it done, is it stays all together that way. The reason why I started off with Novant is because I used to work for the company. And so on top of the insurance we had, the out-of-pocket pay was a lot cheaper than if I went to a non-Novant Health company. So that's why I started off with them, just so you know why I picked them. But I would have, because of the way I was treated last year, is the reason why I went ahead and picked them again this year, because I no longer work for Novant. I just needed to go to a provider that was on my insurance plan. So we will wait for the report. I'll either get an email saying the report is in my chart, or I will get a phone call saying we need you to come in for more testing. One or the other. So we will see what happens and kind of go from there. My risk factors, I think I talked about in the first half, but just in case I didn't, my only risk factors right now are that I have Ashkenazi Jewish bloodline. I don't know how else to phrase that. I'm only a third Ashkenazi, and none of my, and I'm that on my father's side, and none of my father's family has ever had breast, ovarian, or prostate cancer. So even though that puts me at risk, I think I'm at a little bit lower risk than someone that might have more Ashkenazi in them. I don't know if that makes sense. And it probably doesn't matter the way I'm saying that, but that's the way I rationalize it for myself. Also, the dense tissue, the fibrocystic breasts. So that's the other thing that puts me at risk, because it's harder for me to tell on self-exam what is an abnormal lump and what isn't. I think that's it. The only other risk factor I had, I no longer have, and that was that I was on birth control pills. I think that puts you at higher risk also. I think it's something to do with the estrogen, but I'm not positive on that. But I've been off of them for going on a year now. And I was only on them because of back pain. And I seem to be doing okay for the most part. I still have really bad back pain, as you guys have witnessed sometimes in my reactions. But it's not the type of back pain that I was having that I was put on the birth control pills for. Hey everybody, welcome back. I am trying to record this part again because apparently the first time I tried to record the results, I opened up the video and the video played fine, but there was no sound because I forgot to turn the mic on. I turned the mic on the laptop off when I'm using the headset, and I forgot to turn it on in order to do this part. So I am probably going to fumble around on this part, the results part, a little bit, and I apologize in advance. But the results are in. And so we're going to go over that. And I can't remember everything that I talked about in the results part of the video when I recorded it the first time. So we'll see how this goes. So the first part that I went over is the letter that I got. And so the fact that I got a letter is good news, because if they needed to check things further, they would have called me and said, we need you to come back in. And so since I got the letter, I'm not getting a call saying, hey, come back in, there's some questions. So that's good news. Just to show you, so this is the letter that I got. I don't have any personal information showing on this, so that's the good news. I don't even think there's any, yeah, you can't see any in the address bar either. So the letter says the impression was that there was no significant abnormality or change. Recommendations is for me to get a mammogram every year if I'm the age of 40 or above. And I am definitely above 40, so we are getting them every year. And it also said ACR BI-RADS category 1 is negative. And I'm not sure what that is, but I'm not concerned enough to look it up. So the Mammo 3D Tomo is the short word that they use for it. The full name is tomosynthesis for 3D mammography. It was bilateral, both sides. The bilateral digital screening mammogram was obtained and compared to the previous exam. They had my 2019 exam. They had my 2015 exam. The place that I went to in Winston has my 2015, my 2019, and now my 2020. And so they compare them all and see if there's any significant differences. This mammogram was analyzed by a CAD system, which is a computer-aided detection system, which when I saw that, I thought that was kind of neat, because I had only heard of CAD systems when talking about drafting and that sort of thing. When I was in 7th grade, 8th grade, one of those grades, I had both drafting 1 and drafting 2, and I think it was drafting 2 that I got to do one of my assignments on a CAD. So that's the only context that I knew of that name in. So I thought that was kind of cool. Findings, there are scattered areas of fibroglandular density. There are no suspicious masses or calcifications. There is no significant change from the previous exam. So fibroglandular density. So going back to what is fibroglandular density, well, that's the fibrocystic breasts. I'm trying to learn not to say disease since they no longer categorize it as that because it's a common situation. So additional imaging tests are sometimes recommended for women with dense breasts. If a recent mammogram showed you have dense breast tissue, you may wonder what this means for your breast cancer risk. Doctors know dense breast tissue makes breast cancer screening more difficult and increases the risk of breast cancer. Review your breast cancer risk factors with your doctor and consider your options for additional breast cancer screening tests. Together, you can decide whether additional screening tests are right for you. So what is dense breast tissue? Dense breast tissue, I'm starting to do tongue twisters, refers to the appearance of breast tissue on a mammogram. It's a normal and common finding. Breast tissue is composed of milk glands, milk ducts, and supportive tissue, dense breast tissue, and fatty tissue, non-dense breast tissue. When viewed on a mammogram, women with dense breasts are more dense tissue than fatty tissue. And I remember my reaction when I first read that to you guys was, that surprises me because I've always thought of them as more fat than anything because they got bigger as I got bigger. So the fact that I have more supportive tissue than fatty tissue was surprising to me. On a mammogram, non-dense breast tissue appears dark and transparent. Dense breast tissue appears as a solid white area on a mammogram, which makes it difficult to see through. And so that's why this year, I did the 3D imaging because that's supposed to help because you're getting different angles. And so hopefully, if there are any masses, they show up easier. Hopefully. The report also mentioned BIRADS. So BIRADS stands for Breast Imaging Reporting and Data System. Very scientific. The levels of density are often recorded in your mammogram report using letters. The levels of density are A, B, C, and D. I don't remember seeing that on mine. Although, based off the descriptions, I would guess B, scattered areas of fibroglandular density. Let's see, hold on. Where did I see that BIRADS? Up there. Category 1, negative. So it didn't have an A, B, C, or D. So that's interesting. But they do use the term scattered areas of fibroglandular density, which indicates there are some scattered areas of density, but the majority of the breast tissue is non-dense. About 4 in 10 women have this result. Okay. So even though I have fibroglandular density, for the most part, it's mostly fat with some non-fatty areas. That makes more sense to me. In general, women with breasts that are classified as heterogeneously dense or extremely dense are considered to have dense breasts. About half of women undergoing mammograms have dense breasts. And somewhere I had read as you get older, the density goes away and the fatty tissue gets stronger, gets more, takes over. I don't know. I don't know the right term for that. But as you get older, your breasts get less dense. I'm not at that stage yet. Okay, so those are my results. I will be doing this again next year, probably going with the Tomo, the 3D. She finally settled in my lab. So there was nothing much to it. Certainly, if you guys have any questions, feel free to ask me. If If it's something I can't answer, I'll let you know. But for the most part, I'm an open book. So any questions, just ask. But otherwise, I hope to have this video up soon. So thank you for joining me on this part of the journey. I'll see you guys next time. Bye.